If you do not have equal justice, you do not have justice at all. And if you do not have justice, you have no reason for the people to consent to be governed. Equal justice, to me, is very simple. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter who you're related to. You are treated equally before the law. Teddy Roosevelt once said, "No man is above the law, but no man is under it." It doesn't matter your social status. It doesn't matter who you are. What matters is that individualized justice is applied, and it is applied equally. The days of backroom deals, the days of making a deal because of who someone is, those days are over. As district attorney, I'm going to apply the law and the facts to each situation, and I will do so without fear and without favor. One of the things you all will get to hear my 90-day report early. I think that it's important to tell the public how things are, how things are going. So we're a little bit shy of 90, so you all get it early. The public will get it when we put a press release out. So here's the thing about being district attorney. You may have questions that I simply cannot answer. There are rules that apply now. You all who have known me for a while know that I generally just get up and say it. But I do have some restrictions on me now, so you may have some questions that I can't answer. If I can't answer them, I'll tell you, and if I can't answer, I'll tell you, and I'll tell you why. So none of that has changed. So let me start with the report of what I found. So when I took office on September the 1st, the district attorney's office had not been fully staffed in, it was probably close to 9 months by the time I got there. They'd had some people leave. Those positions had never gotten filled. We had an interim district attorney. The election was over in March. As some of you all know, we tried to get into office quicker. We were unsuccessful in doing that. That added to some of the problems in the office once I got in there. The criminal courts had about a 2,400 case backlog when I took office. There was over 500 cases that had not been prepared to be presented to the grand jury. We are now probably at around 30 cases district-wide behind in the grand jury, so we got that done a lot quicker than I thought. Still working on the backlog, but we have reduced it. We've reduced it quite a bit. When I took office, the average age of a case in criminal court was about 872 days. So that tells you the situation that we were in. In 90 days, I have reduced that down to an average of 744 days. That number will continue to drop. One of the problems with cleaning up the backlog in the grand jury with cases that had been bound over from Sessions Court or new cases that had been brought by law enforcement is because they had been sitting for so long. Every time we take a case in front of the grand jury and clean that backlog up, our average time in criminal court goes up because some of those cases have sat for over a year waiting to go to the grand jury. So all in all, not an ideal situation, but we knew that. We knew that going in. One of the things that I did, one of the first policies that I put in place, I talked about it on the campaign trail and it is now in the policy manual, is anyone who crosses any of the county lines of the 10th Judicial District with illegal drugs, our office seeks the maximum amount of prison time. It's zero tolerance. We don't cut deals. It's go to prison and go to prison for the max. Now here's the reality. You are going to see a change in the drug trade. The border is going to get locked down. You're going to see it. And the drug situation will change. What we have right now is we have a lot of cheap drugs pouring over our borders. But I guarantee you this time next year, you're going to see a completely different drug market And one of the things that I've said to our law enforcement agencies is this is a once-in-a-generation chance to get ahead of it. It's very rare that you can get ahead of the drug problem. But one of the things that's happened over the last 20 years, we did have meth labs. Well, most of the meth cooks went to prison, or the market passed them by and cooking meth was no longer ideal because you had all the cheap meth coming across the border. So it's hard to find meth cooks. Now, who would have ever thought we would say that as if it's a bad thing? But that tells you how bad our drug problem is, that all these cheap drugs are coming across the border, that you have law enforcement saying, you know, it'd be a whole lot better if we had a few people out there cooking meth instead of bringing it over by the ton across the border. Because you can't cook it near as fast as these boys can bring it across that border by the kilo. The laws were changed. Now, for some reason, and this is something I'm going to talk to our reps and our senators about, for some reason the General Assembly decided that it would be a good idea to increase the amount of pseudoephedrine that you can buy. I have no clue why, but they did. Well, that was one of the biggest problems with cooking meth, is you were limited on how much pseudoephedrine you could get. The whole reason that amount was dropped down to what it was to fight meth. Well, now we're going to get the southern border locked down, we're going to get the northern border locked down, and now you can buy more pseudoephedrine, which goes right back to once we start having fentanyl not be $2 a pill, and it goes up to what it used to be, and you're getting your dope caught at the border, which is what's supposed to happen, the cost of fentanyl is going to go up. The cost of drugs are going to go up. And then what's going to happen? We probably will have people start back cooking meth. We don't have doctor shopping like we did because the laws got passed on that. We took a beating on prescription drug abuse, but that got handled. So we literally are in a position where we may very well, for the first time ever, be ahead of the drug trade. And that is a good thing. And so one of the messages that I preach to law enforcement is let's get ahead of it and let's try to stay ahead of it, because if we can actually have a generation of kids that we save more of them from becoming drug addicts than what we've ever had in the past, we just changed the 10th Judicial District completely. We just changed it. So we have been consistent on that. I am working diligently to expand the drug task force. I want more agencies on the drug task force. I want more information sharing. One of the biggest problems that we have as far as the drug trade goes is we will have drug dealers in one county go to another county. They're not known in that county. They're known in their county. And they'll sell drugs and then they'll skip right back to their home county, which is one reason why I put the policy in place, because we're going to start hitting that. We are going to start sending letters out to any house that is identified as a drug house or as a trap house. Lots of times you have owners, they don't necessarily know what's going on, but they get a letter hand delivered to them from the District Attorney General saying we've had this number of people who have been arrested at your residence. I'm assuming they're renters. Now you know that the drug trade is taking place in this house, because we're going to crack down on drug houses. I spent too much time on the campaign trail standing in nice neighborhoods and having people say, you see that house over there, that's a drug house. That's unacceptable. There's no reason for that. People need to be able to live in their neighborhoods, and they need to be able to live their lives and have their kids and grandkids out on the street and not have a drug house down the street from them. We have started targeting violent and repeat offenders. That is one of the main things that we ask. We ask law enforcement constantly, who is our problem people. And when law enforcement identifies people, then those are the people that we start trying to get off the streets. It has been, quite candidly, there's not been an aggressive approach to violent and repeat offenders in our district, and that is going to change. We have entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms to track stolen firearms. I'm a gun person, you all are gun people. It irritates me no end when somebody gets their gun stolen. So my office actually has the ability to trace firearms. We have reduced the delay in moving cases from General Sessions Court to the grand jury for whatever reason. In 2015, a policy was changed that increased the amount of time from when a case gets bound over from Sessions Court to the grand jury. It used to go either to the next immediate grand jury, or if that one was too close, it went to the very next grand jury. Well, you're talking about maybe a 45-day delay. For whatever reason, in 2015, that was changed completely to at least a 60-day delay, and what we ended up with was cases lingering in limbo, basically, for over a year. McMinn County had a guy, he was charged, he was a foreign national, he was subject to deportation, he was going to be deported, and his case set with him sitting in the McMinn County jail for approximately 18 months, and then he was deported. Guess who paid for every minute that man sat in the McMinn County jail? The taxpayers. No reason for that to happen. When a case leaves out of Sessions Court, if it's going to criminal court, we're going to get it into the grand jury. We are going to get it indicted. So we have went back to the pre-2015 policy on getting that done. I have streamlined the decision-making process for the assistant district attorneys. One of the biggest problems that you have in a bureaucracy is when you treat people as if they are not licensed professionals. They are, and that's how I treat people. I've given them freedom to be able to make decisions on their cases, and it has made things move a whole lot quicker through the court system. One of the hardest things with being district attorney is I like doing things myself. So delegation has been hard. One of the very first things someone said to me is, "Stephen, people don't think about things like you do." Well, why don't they think about things like I do, right? So that has been a learning curve right there. You all probably saw it. We have a serious problem in our district with some of these stores that sell vape, THC devices. They're getting into the hands of kids. You saw an enforcement effort that we did. We're going to do more of that. It is 21 or older. You better be checking IDs, and you better not be selling to kids. That is a first. One of the organizations here, ATS The Bridge, when we did it, some of the folks called me up and said, "Well, we were always told that everybody's hands were tied. We couldn't do anything about these getting to our kids." Well, guess what? Mine aren't, and I did something about it. So we have put policies in place to try to keep citizens and law enforcement officials from sitting in court for so long. That was one of the biggest complaints that I got, is we will get summons to court and we'll sit there for hours and hours and hours. We have policies now that those cases, if you're, God forbid, any of you all are ever a victim of a crime and you're in court, the assistant DAs and the victim witness coordinators will come looking for you, and we will be getting those cases called up as quickly as we possibly can. And the same thing for law enforcement. I reorganized the office. I've got a victim witness administrator, I've got an administrative assistant, and I've got me. Lawyers and criminal investigators report to me. Support staff reports to the administrative assistant. All the victim witness coordinators report to the victim witness administrator. I've streamlined it as much as I can so that when people call the office, they can get to whoever they need to get to, who can answer whatever question they have quickly. And ultimately, if they need to talk to me, then they say, "Hey, I want to talk to Stephen Hatchett." I guarantee you, does anyone in this room not have my cell number? You don't have my cell number, Tammy? I find this hard to believe. It's 423.
Wait, I wasn't ready.
It's quite all right.
Okay.
423 290 7698.
I hope I never need it.
Well, I hope you never need it too, because anytime somebody calls me, it's something bad. For anyone who does not know and did not have it, Tammy, it's that phone right there. I don't have a burner phone. I don't have a sit the phone down. It's that phone right there. If you don't get me, you leave a message, 423-290 888-888-7698. If you don't get me, you leave me a message, and I will call you back. Now, one thing I will say, and if anybody is subsequently watches this, texting is not my favorite thing. If you text me, you may get lost in the wash of texts. So please call me, leave me a message if you don't get me. I try to answer when I can, but unfortunately sometimes that just don't happen. We have 2 criminal investigators in the district attorney's office. Usually those 2 just sort of roamed around wherever, but what I did is I assigned one to McMinn-Monroe County and I assigned one to Bradley County, because one of the things that I've learned over my career is people need to know their counties. They need to know their people. They need to be intimately familiar with what is going on in their areas. We're also going to, the DA's office was set up on judge teams. We are transitioning out of that back to county teams, so that I have prosecutors assigned to a county so that they know who their problem people are. They know who they need to be looking at. So I went away from the going everywhere to giving people counties, so that they can do a better job of keeping up on it. One of the big things that I have to say is we have really great circuit court clerks. They have been tremendously helpful to me. I have to say that. You have Gayla Miller down here, you have Dwayna Martin in Monroe County, you have Rhonda Cooley in McMinn County, you have Melissa Jenkins in Polk County. They have been incredibly helpful to me. My staff, I'm proud of my staff. We are fully staffed. We actually were fully staffed on day one. I worked hard while I was stuck not being able to get into office, recruiting and getting people in. We're losing one at the end of this month, so 4 days from now, but I already have that spot filled. So one of the big things that I had somebody tell me this, and I have found it to be true. When you have a organization that has a lot of turnover, you've got a problem in your organization. A business person told me that, and I have found that to be true. I let some folks go when I took office. There's a way that I want things done. There's a way I believe things should be done. And I want people who are going to get it done the way I want it done. But I had people lined up to replace all of those folks. There's a young lady down here, she's from Blount County, she's going home. I understand that. But her leaving will be the first person that I've had leave after I took over the office. And I would assume she would say she's leaving to go home, not because of any issues with the office. And I'm proud of that. The amount of effort that we have put out, I cannot say enough about my people. I have basically worked them like government mules, and they have done it. They have worked hard to get the things done that need to be done. It was not a good situation. I had the day I took office, I had somebody send me a text message and said that the seal of my office should be this, and it was a dumpster on fire. I said, well, that ain't going to be the seal of the office. Actually, I had a seal designed. If you ever get an email from me, you'll see it on there, and there's a Latin phrase on there, and it means let justice be done without fear and without favor. That is what I've told my people. That is what I expect from them, and I believe that's what we will have. You all know this because, again, I've spoken to you all. I came from the private sector. I took a pay cut to take this job. My wife still ain't happy I took this job. She's a trooper, and you all have seen her and stuff, and usually people prefer to see her instead of me. either that or my daughter, and I understand that perfectly. I'd rather see them than me too. But, you know, one of the problems that we have in government, and you all have heard me talk about this, when you get attached to that government paycheck and you got to have it to survive, you're going to do what you have to do as opposed to doing what's right. And that is unfortunate. And that is, I have said this, and I've said it to folks, now that I'm an elected official, I've said it to folks and they really get mad at me, but I really don't care. That part has not changed. We have allowed a political class to come into existence. If you hear this Doge organization that Trump is talking about, they better do it, because you have a political class, all they care about is getting that government paycheck. They may be good people, I'm not saying they're not, but when you have the parts of the federal workforce making almost twice what the private sector pays, you better look out, because you're going to have people, that's what their allegiance is to the government that's paying them, not to we the people. And there's a reason I would submit that Trump and Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are talking about the things that they're talking about, because it is a problem. You need to have public servants, not people who expect the public to serve them. So it is I don't think we're in an existential crisis yet, but we're getting awful darn close. I would guess I would know most of y'all's politics in here, but I may not. But for me personally, the good guys needed a win, and I think they got it. But that's just me. The mission of my office, I actually took the time to put together a mission statement. I believed it was important. We had a lot of frayed relationships across this district. I had people in the court system tell me that they did not feel respected by the district attorney's office as an entity. I had a lot of law enforcement officers reach out to me with specific issues and concerns. And we have worked diligently to build those relationships back, and it's important. A lot of people do not realize the district attorney normally is an 8-year term. I'm finishing out a 6, but it's an 8-year term. And the district attorney, I had somebody ask me the other day, "Who's your boss?" And I said, "Well, until I get back to the election, I ain't got one. I'm it." Now, that's kind of scary, isn't it? That much power in one person. Fortunately for me, I have my wife, who just beats me down constantly and constantly tells me that head better not get bigger in that doorway. But it is an office that you need somebody in there that, number one, respects the Constitution, respects the role of the law, but also the importance of law and order. Without law and order, you don't have anything. I believe law and order is the first function of government. And that's not taking anything away from educators. If any of you all are educators, I take nothing away from you. But you don't have schools, and you don't have health, and you don't have anything else if you don't have law and order. And that is an important part of this office, and it's a part that I take very, very seriously. So that is basically where the office is. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has, and again, if I can't answer, I'm going to tell you. I'm not trying to be rude or ugly. The Venezuelan gangs, I'll talk about that real quick. So the issue was brought up by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation during budget hearings. That was the first time that anyone really had heard that. I hadn't heard it. The city of Knoxville almost immediately came out and said, "We're not aware of a serious issue." In Knoxville, the city of Chattanooga said the same thing. Brandon Lewis with the Tennessee Conservative. I like Brandon. You all know Tennessee Conservative endorsed me. I love Brandon Lewis. He ran an article blasting the law enforcement agencies that said they're not here. So he is he's got his opinions on this situation. But I'll tell you, I had folks here in the 10th Judicial District ask me about it, and I can say this because I am one. My response to them was, we have an awful lot of rednecks, and they have an awful lot of guns. And I almost think we're going to be having foreign gangs take over anything. And quite frankly, I have not, me personally, for our district, for our 4 counties, I have not seen it. I've not had anyone reach out to me. I've not had a law enforcement agency call me up and say, hey, listen, here's an issue. I can tell you, criminals do not control any part of the 10th Judicial District. They don't control a single square inch of the 10th Judicial District. And if anybody knows different, you pick up the phone and call me, and I promise you, we will take that square inch back. It does not and will not occur here. So I've not seen it. I've not had any agency reach out and say, hey, here's a problem that you all have in your 4 counties. Is it possible we may have someone here with ties? Yeah, it's possible. But is it a criminal operation that we see? No, I've not seen it. If I had, I'd tell you. And if I had, I would be the first one on the phone with whatever law enforcement agency had jurisdiction over it, and we would be dealing with it. So there is that. Anybody have any questions? And again, if I can't answer, I'm going to tell you, and I'm not being rude or ugly. Fire away, Mylon.
No, you go ahead.
Fire away.
Trump says he's going to deport lots of people who are here illegally. How will that affect you, or what is your view on that? How will it be enforced?
So I'll tell you, I heard a really good point made the other day, and it's a point that people should be talking about. You have, and I think the number was, and I would say it's accurate, you have about I think someone said 1.3 million deportation orders that are in effect right now. If you have a court order that is not being enforced, you do not have law in your country. I can't tell a judge no. You can't tell a judge no. So right off the bat, if that is accurate, and I believe it is, there's your start, okay? It won't affect my job at all. If there is a court order and there is someone who has already been ordered out of this country, they need to go. And if a federal law enforcement agency comes in, picks them up and sends them on their way, it doesn't affect me. I'm all for it, okay? So I think that's where you start. I think you absolutely have to start there. Here's what I expect you will see. I expect you will see people self-deport. That's what I think you're going to see. Here's the other part of it. And I said this the other day, and it shocked some people, but it shouldn't. We have to reform our immigration system. All right, we have to. You want the best and brightest coming in. You want, if you need skilled labor, if we don't have it, you need to bring it in. Employers should be able to get it in here. You should have people who are on work visas. We should know who they are. We should know where they are. We should know if they're overstaying their time here. It shouldn't be this big chaotic mess. We need to reform it.
But that's with the greatest respect to somebody who's gone through that process, step by step, being here legally, becoming a green card holder,
Right.
becoming a naturalized citizen 17 years ago. I've actually gone through that whole process. There's a process there. It's just that people are not enforcing it.
That's right.
We do not need, when you say reform it, we just, in my opinion, all we need to do is enforce the laws that are there.
Well, in a certain regard, I agree with you, but you do have right now, especially, probably doesn't apply to you, okay? What I'm talking about is more your workers.
But there is a policy for that, because in Dayton, for example, the strawberry pickers, they will get a visa, they will drive down to the border, they bring them back in buses, they put them in dormitories, and at the end of that, when their visa up, they take them back again. What we have are people who are coming here. If whenever I came in and out of the country, I had to go through a process, and if I overstay, if I didn't leave at least once during that year,
Right.
I was banned for 10 years. So the laws are there. It's just that when people come here illegally, and that's, to me, that's the word, they're illegal, they've broken the law by coming here. There is no policy to monitor them or to, to make sure they're abiding by our existing laws.
Well, and I don't disagree, okay? I think it's two parts of one conversation. Here's what I've had employers tell me, and I have no reason to doubt them. I think they're expressing genuine frustration. The hoops that they have to jump through to get the workers you're talking about are, and this should come as no surprise, you have a bunch of bureaucratic red tape, okay? They're saying, hey, listen, why am I doing this? Why am I paying what I'm supposed to pay when that guy over there is not doing it and he's getting away with it? Enforcing on that guy is all fine and good, but you don't need bureaucratic red tape on this guy over here if he's just trying to earn a living and these are the workers that he needs. So when I talk about reform, that's what I'm talking about, because I've had employers tell me that, because I've had employers ask me, hey, what about illegal immigration? And my response is always the same. Are they breaking the law? If they're breaking the law, I expect the law to be enforced. It doesn't get any more complicated than that, but I can accept their assertion that there's a lot of red tape that shouldn't be there for the type of workers that they need. And why would there not be red tape? How many of you are small business owners? You're eat up with red tape. We're all eat up with red tape. Everybody's eat up with red tape. So for those people, streamline it, do whatever you need to do, but absolutely enforce the law. I don't disagree. Enforcing it is all fine and good, but if those employers are accurate in their assessment of the bureaucratic red tape, something needs to be done there. That's my opinion, but I don't deal with immigration reform, so that's just me making a general observation. But as far as illegal aliens in the 10th Judicial District, there's now a requirement that when law enforcement comes into contact with them, they're to determine their immigration status if they can. My policy as a prosecutor, if they violate a law, then zero tolerance, right? You shouldn't be here to begin with. And honestly, we just brought a guy back on a first-degree murder. He was here illegally, made national news. We're going to send him to prison for the rest of his life. But by and large, what I see here is no driver's license, and people don't know if you don't really have a way to determine immigration status lots of times, because they have social security numbers and they have, the immigration system is just a mess. And that's what I see more than anything is no driver's license. They don't hit anybody, they get pulled over, and there it is. But illegal immigrants that commit crime, and that is a crime, driving with no license is a crime, I'm not saying it's not, but commit crimes that the general public would say, hey, if they weren't here, they wouldn't be committing that crime. Yeah, we come down hard on that. Yes, sir. You're cutting off Mylan though, Dan. Just.
Oh, go ahead, Mylan, I'm sorry.
Real quick though, one of the things that was brought to our attention a couple of years ago, and I've been asking about it, is the time it takes to get results back from Knoxville or Nashville on drug results. And I was given an example a month ago from one of the judges, and I've asked our legislators in Nashville to address this, and I was just wondering if you've heard anything, because it cost us, I know the number, it's about $74 a day to keep somebody in to find out that you don't have anything to charge them with.
So the lab backlog, they send out the reports fairly often telling us where they're at on their backlog. It gets better, and then they don't have analysts, and then it gets worse, and then it gets better. one thing that the legislature did, and I think the legislature genuinely was trying to do a good thing, but the Farm Bill and hemp, chaos, pure chaos. They're going to have to, I don't know what they're going to have to do. I'm not in the General Assembly, but they're going to have to do something, because right there is one of our biggest problems, is dealing with marijuana, dealing with hemp, trying to get it tested. It now has to go to the Department of Agriculture. Hopefully the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation will have that. So while we're waiting on all the other drug labs, they're now over there trying to figure out what the heck to do with marijuana. How are they going to test it? Carboxylation, all of those good things. So it gets better, it gets worse, it gets better, it gets worse. But to your point, more specifically, Mylan, one of the biggest things that I am doing and that I intend to do is get those cases quicker. If they're in sessions, get them out of sessions, get them to the grand jury, get them in criminal court, so that when those labs come back, we're not sitting waiting, and now we get the lab back, and now it is whatever, and now we're taking it through the system, right? Get it as far through the system as you can, and when that lab comes back, if you're already in criminal court, hey, I'm sorry, Mr. Defendant, it is in fact a kilo of heroin. When would you like your trial date? As opposed to, oh, well, you're in sessions court. We left you down here for 4 or 5 months waiting on that lab. Now we got to take you to the grand jury. Now we got to get you in criminal court. Now we got to go through discovery. 2 years later, when would you like your trial date?
Right, so you're doing what you can with your office, but what I'm being told is, what I just mentioned, is that it can take up to 5 to 90 days just to get the results back, and they can't make bond or whatever, so they're sitting over there in Sheriff Lawson's jail at all of our expenses.
Sure.
It's out of the general fund.
Sure. No, so the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has however many analysts they have, and they fluctuate up and down on their turnaround time. I don't really know the answer why. It seems like it ought to be a whole lot better than what it is, but I mean, I guess you've got the number of analysts you've got the number of tests you can run in a day, and there it is. But no, there is a time delay on getting laboratory results back, and like I said, we get it sent to us. We know about where we're at. We try to move the cases as quick as we can, knowing, okay, here's about where we're at on our time getting lab reports back, and that's about the extent we can do. But I'm sure the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation probably included a request for more analysts in their request to the governor, but I don't know. I hadn't seen their actual request. I don't know that answers your question, Mylan.
Well,
that's the best I can.
I'm meeting with them next week or week after with R3, and I'm basically going to push again that they've got to speed it up. I just want to make sure that when I do that my data or my accusation for what's worth is accurate.
I'll send you the report that we get. We get one. Well, here, hang on.
You have a state government that has over $1 billion in a rainy day fund and sees fit to supply corporations like Ford Motor Company with big tax incentives and stuff. I got a better idea. Let's not incentivize corporations. How about we come back and take that money and add to the, to their clinical capability in that.
So I said either increase the capacities at 3 places, Knoxville, Nashville, and somewhere in West Tennessee, or add a new location.
Right.
Or Stephen, allow the local sheriff or the districts to perform their own results.
Well, so we tried that, if you recall, and that kind of blew up on us because the money ran out. One of the things that we have started doing is there's a presumptive test that you can do, and it doesn't take the place of a full-blown lab, but we have done that to try to move cases along. Because here's the thing, I was trying to find that email
It's
on
fine.
my own, but
You answer my question, I know what I need to do.
I'll send the report that we get, because we get it every now and then. But here's the reality. Defendants know whether or not they have a kilo of heroin or a kilo of baking powder, right? I mean, you know what you got. So our position to them has been, hey, listen, presumptive, this is what it is. Is this something you want to fight about? And if they say, no, we want a full-blown lab, then okay, fine. It's, we've sent it to the lab and we'll get the lab report back and we'll do what we do. So to the extent we can, on our end, we're trying to avoid that. But I mean, if the TBI says you hire us X number of lab analysts and we'll cut this down to whatever, 2 weeks, hey, listen, General Assembly needs to hold them to it. But I know a lot of the lab analysts, I don't take issue with them. I think they probably are inundated. All you have to do is look around at our communities. Our communities are inundated, so why would the labs not be inundated with having to test this stuff?
It might be better when they close the border.
You will see,
A decrease.
the drug trade is going to change. It will change. I assure you, this time next year, it will be different. And the market is going to change. So yeah, it's going to be different, and you could very well see less. I expect you will see less drug cases of what we have now, but it's only going to be a short period of time before it changes to a different model. So that period of time where it's changing over, that's the time to strike. Yes, sir.
That's when the price gougers make all the money.
That's right.
Don't you think you'll see more crime go up though when the price of drugs go up? Because the people that are addicted are going to be inclined to steal more and do more violent crimes.
I don't know that you'll necessarily see a rise in crime. You may see some, but honestly, things are so bad right now. I mean, honestly, things are so bad right now. I don't know that you're going to see a statistically significant increase in property crimes and violent crimes. I don't think so. Now, part of this is just prognostication. When crack hit the streets, yeah, you absolutely saw a massive spike in violence. No question. Crack was one of the most violent things that ever hit our streets. But our society has already went through all that. Right? We've already seen crack. We've already seen the opioids. We've already seen the synthetics. We've already seen meth. So we've seen it, right? So I don't know that you're necessarily going to see that. There may be an uptick, but what my hope is, because the market changes and because we have cracked down as hard as we've cracked down to keep it out, okay, it's just going to be harder to get in here, and it just ain't going to be here. Because I say this, and I don't mean to offend anyone here who has a loved one who's a drug addict. My heart goes out to you. But if I can make it where they don't want to be in this district and they go somewhere else,
You'll be happy.
I'll be happy. Won't hurt my feelings at all. In fact, my policy is basically designed to make people not want to be here and do drugs, sell drugs. And that's what we're doing. So, anybody else? Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about your plans with the meth product, the prevention, and this letter you're going to send out to the landlords. You're going to give them like an advanced opportunity to get the house cleaned up.
Well, so basically what the letter is going to say is, here is the activity that's been going on. It's not necessarily, you don't.
Put it on notice.
Yes, you don't, I don't know the last time that I had law enforcement come to me and say, hey, meth's being cooked in this house. I couldn't even tell you the last time I heard that. So it's not necessarily that. It is, this activity is going on. You may very well not be aware of it, but now you are. On this date, this person was arrested. On this date, this person was arrested. On this date, this person was arrested.
I think
Because,
landlords would react to that by filing, for eviction immediately.
well, and may very well, and that's perfectly fine.
Is that
Because.
too late?
No, it's not a question of too late. Here is what the law says. The law says that anything that is used for trafficking in narcotics is subject to seizure, and that includes real property. So people are going to have to take part in their community, and if they know folks are in their house and they know these folks are selling drugs, they better do something.
Well, that was the reason I told you that the reaction was going to be that they're going to evict. But like I said, is that in your point of view, is that too late to avoid that
No.
lawsuit that's going to happen over that attempted seizure?
No, because here's the reality, okay? The law is based, which you know this, the law is based on reasonableness, right? What is reasonable? If, say, someone in this room has a house and they get a letter like that from me, it is going to take time for them to remedy the situation,
I
right?
just want you to just call me. I'm going to wait for the letter.
I'm not going to call you. I'm going to give you a letter, because then you can't say you didn't get my letter.
You can do both.
I'll call you too. If I know the landowner, I'm happy to call them.
Just call them and tell them and let them do what they will. But in my purview, and everybody that I work with, they're going to evict.
Well, and that's perfectly fine, because,
We have a zero drug tolerance too. because
Sure.
If we become aware of an arrest, we kick the whole household out.
well, I'll tell you what I have found, and it's just, it just is what it is. The number of people who own rental properties who don't live here, there's a ton. There's a ton, okay? Those folks don't know, and I understand they don't know.
California, Canada.
Yeah, they don't know, and I understand they don't know, okay? So that's why we're going to do this, is they're going to know, and then they do whatever they want to do, but they're aware they have property in our district, and that property is being used to sell drugs. And now they're on notice. They can't say they're not on notice. So but again, to your question, and it's a fair question, are you just going to immediately say, oh, no, that's not reasonable? How's that fair? If you don't live here, you got to have time to get
You
done.
got a $300,000 asset for the county to look at. I would think that most of the law enforcement officers would think it's very fair for you to seize that property.
Well,
like they do on the interstate. You get caught with $10,000 or $15,000 in your suitcase, and they're going to try to take it from you.
well, here's the thing. Whether or not someone else thinks it's fair, the person that has to make the decision on is it fair is me, and fair to me is being reasonable, and being reasonable is giving folks a chance to demonstrate they're not a problem, they don't want to be a problem, they're not trying to be a problem, right?
Yeah.
That takes time.
I'm totally opposed to any kind of government seizure of anything.
Well, that's probably why you want me to call you and tell you, so
That's
you can.
exactly what I don't want to be.
But it's either they deal with it or you do.
Yes, either they deal with it or we're going to. We're not going to have neighborhoods, like I told you all at the outset, we're not going to have neighborhoods where people are standing there pointing at a house saying, that's a drug house. I'm not going to have law enforcement coming to me saying, hey, Hatchett, this is a drug house, this is a drug house, this is a drug house. It's not. If people want to come to court and fight with us about it, let's go to court, let's fight.
Any lease that I have or that I've advised people to have, we require the tenant to waive the right to notice. So the 3-day provision for notice doesn't do us any benefit. What we need is a 3-day eviction process.
Hey, Mylan's going to go talk to the legislators, so you need to just latch on to him and be like, hey.
Okay. I'm gonna go with him.
Any other questions? Well, as always, I really appreciate you all having me. I think that all of you who have ever heard me talk, if something comes up, if there's something that you all want to know, you call me, you ask me, I'm going to tell you. Good, bad, or indifferent. You may like it, you may not like it, but I'm going to tell you. And if you need to call me, if you say, hey, listen, Hatchett, here's a community issue and we want to know why something ain't being done, we want you to come down and talk to us, I got no problem doing that either. I told Dan I want it to be as transparent as it can be. We've got challenges, but I'm gonna tell you folks, we've got real opportunities to make things better. I mean, we do. They don't come around very often, and when they do, you gotta latch on to them, and we do. We've got some real opportunities to make things better, and I've told my staff, the only thing that I want out of them is ethical conduct that is effective in making our community safe. They're probably sick and tired of hearing me say effective, 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 effective. But effectiveness is what we're after, and that's all there is to it. So thank you all.